The human heart is a vast and complex space, capable of harboring the most profound love and joy, yet also shadowed by the darkest depths of hatred and resentment. Often, this hatred remains veiled, concealed behind polite smiles, empty compliments, and seemingly civil interactions. Yet, understanding the true nature of those around us is crucial, not only for our own inner peace, but for navigating the complexities of human relationships with wisdom and grace. Zen wisdom teaches us that the world is a mirror, reflecting back to us our own inner landscape. Through mindful observation and intentional action, we can unveil truths that are otherwise hidden, allowing us to see beyond the surface of human behavior and into the deeper currents of the heart. As the Zen saying goes, the truth is like water. It reveals itself when the surface is still. This reminds us that discovering what lies beneath the surface of human interaction requires patience, strategy, and a quiet but sharply focused mind. Hatred, often buried deep within a person's heart, has a way of surfacing when the right circumstances arise. Through the lens of Zen and Buddhist philosophy, let us explore a profound story that demonstrates how one can unveil hidden hatred by performing two deliberate actions, each action a reflection of Zen's emphasis on stillness, observation, and understanding. A disciple once approached a wise master, seeking guidance. "Master," he began, "I have encountered many people in my life, but I often feel unsure about who truly holds goodwill toward me and who hides hatred within their hearts. They act kindly in front of me, yet my intuition whispers of deception. How do I uncover the truth without creating conflict?" The master, sitting in serene meditation, opened his eyes and smiled faintly. "You ask a question that many ponder," he replied. "To uncover hidden hatred, you must provoke the truth, but without malice or judgment. Perform these two actions, and you will see the unseen. But remember, uncovering the truth is only the beginning. How you respond defines your spiritual growth." Curious, but respectful, the disciple asked, "What are these two actions?" The master gestured for him to sit and began his teaching. "The first action," the master explained, "is simple but revealing. Offer genuine praise. Compliment the person on something meaningful, such as their skills, character, or achievements. Watch their reaction carefully, not just their words, but their body language, tone, and eyes. Praise is a mirror. It reflects not only how someone feels about themselves, but also how they feel about you." He continued with a story. "There was once a humble monk who had a younger brother. The monk often praised his brother for his intelligence, kindness, and hard work. In public, the brother would smile graciously and express gratitude for the kind words, but in private, his behavior told a different story. He would avoid the monk, dismiss his suggestions, and often criticize him behind his back. One day, the monk decided to test his brother. At a gathering, he offered heartfelt praise about his brother's recent success. "Your accomplishment inspires us all," the monk said warmly. The brother smiled and thanked him, but his eyes flickered with something darker. He quickly shifted the conversation, seeking to downplay the monk's words. Later, the monk overheard him saying to another, "He praises me only to make himself look good. He doesn't mean any of it." The monk realized the truth. His brother harbored jealousy and resentment, hidden beneath the surface. Praise had brought these hidden emotions to light. The master concluded, when hatred exists in someone's heart, even sincere praise can feel like an insult to them. Their reaction will reveal their true feelings. Remember, this is not about manipulation, but understanding. Praise in its purest form is a gift. If they accept it with grace, they are at peace. If they react with unease, jealousy, or suspicion, the hatred is revealed. The master then continued, The second action is equally important. Ask for help. Not in trivial matters, but in something significant enough to test their willingness. Asking for help unveils the depth of someone's true intentions. A person who harbors hatred may reluctantly assist or refuse altogether, even if they are capable of helping. Their response will betray their inner feelings. To illustrate, the master shared another story. There was once a traveler who found himself lost in a dense forest. He came across two individuals resting by the roadside. One was cheerful and talkative, while the other was reserved but polite. The traveler decided to test their intentions by asking for help. He approached the cheerful one first and said, "I need guidance to find the nearest village. Can you help me?" The cheerful one hesitated, then smiled and said, "Oh, I'm not familiar with the paths here. I'm sure someone else can guide you." The traveler then turned to the reserved individual and made the same request. The reserved one paused, then stood up and said, "I will guide you. Follow me." As they walked, the reserved one spoke little, but ensured the traveler reached his destination. Along the way, the traveler learned that the reserved individual valued actions over words and harbored no ill will. The cheerful one, on the other hand, avoided helping because of hidden resentment masked by superficial friendliness. When you ask for help, the master explained, you test the true measure of someone's goodwill. Those who harbor hatred may find excuses, offer half-hearted assistance, or refuse entirely. Genuine help comes from a place of compassion, while hidden hatred resists the call to act selflessly. Eager to apply the teachings, the disciple decided to observe the people around him. He began with the first action, offering praise to those he interacted with. He complimented a friend on their wisdom, a colleague on their diligence, and an acquaintance on their generosity. Most accepted the praise graciously, with genuine smiles and gratitude. However, one person whom the disciple had always trusted reacted differently. When praised for their recent success, they smiled but quickly changed the subject. Later, the disciple overheard them saying to another, "He only compliments me to make himself look humble. He's trying to compete with me." The disciple realized that this person, despite their outward friendliness, held envy and mistrust toward him. Next, the disciple applied the second action. He asked this same person for help with an important task, one that required effort and time. The person hesitated, then provided an excuse, saying they were too busy. The disciple thanked them and moved on, but the pattern was clear. Hidden hatred had revealed itself. The disciple returned to the master and shared his experiences. "I see now that these two actions reveal much about others, but what should I do with this knowledge? Should I distance myself from those who harbor hatred?" The master smiled and said, "Knowledge without compassion is incomplete. When you uncover hatred in someone's heart, do not judge or retaliate. Instead, reflect on what their hatred teaches you. Is it rooted in their own pain, jealousy, or fear? Respond not with anger, but with understanding. Yet, protect your peace. You can choose to distance yourself or engage with mindfulness, but never let their hatred consume your spirit." He added, "Remember, hatred is a heavy burden for the one who carries it. Your role is not to fix them, but to remain true to your path. Sometimes, by maintaining your integrity, you inspire change in others. If not, their hatred is theirs to resolve." After receiving the master's final teaching, the disciple began to reflect more deeply on what he had learned. He realized that uncovering hidden hatred was not merely about testing others, but also about refining his own heart. The process of offering praise and seeking help wasn't just a means to reveal others' emotions. It was also a mirror reflecting his capacity for compassion, patience, and wisdom. The disciple understood that it was natural for some people to harbor negative feelings. Life is complex, and everyone carries unseen burdens, insecurities, and unresolved conflicts. The goal, as the Master had said, wasn't to judge or retaliate, but to cultivate clarity and understanding. As time passed, the disciple began to apply what he learned with greater wisdom. One day, he encountered a person who had repeatedly shown signs of hidden hatred. The disciple decided to approach the situation differently. Instead of withdrawing completely, he chose to engage with compassion. The disciple offered sincere praise once more, not to test, but to uplift. "I truly admire how you handle challenges," he said. "You are a source of inspiration to many." This time, he noticed a shift. The person's reaction was still reserved, but there was a flicker of vulnerability in their eyes. They hesitated before responding, "Thank you, though I doubt I deserve such words." The disciple recognized that this person's hatred might not have been directed entirely at him. It was rooted in their own insecurities and feelings of inadequacy. By offering genuine kindness, the disciple had planted a seed of healing. This did not mean the relationship would transform overnight, nor did it mean the disciple ignored the warning signs. Instead, he chose to maintain a respectful distance while continuing to act with integrity. The Master once shared, hatred, when left unaddressed, becomes a cycle. It feeds on itself, growing stronger with time. You must not let it pull you into its grasp. Non-attachment is your shield. The disciple asked, "How do I practice non-attachment when faced with hatred?" The Master explained, "Non-attachment does not mean indifference. It means acknowledging hatred's presence without allowing it to disturb your inner peace. Think of hatred as a storm. It may rage around you, but if you remain rooted like a mountain, it cannot move you." He continued with a story. There was once a wise monk who faced constant criticism from a rival. The rival often spoke ill of the monk, spreading false rumors and attempting to tarnish his reputation. When asked why he never responded, the monk said, "If someone offers me a gift, and I do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The listeners replied, "To the one who offered it." "Precisely," the monk said. "When someone offers me their hatred, I choose not to accept it. Their hatred remains with them, while I remain at peace." The disciple realized that this story held the key to true freedom. Discovering hidden hatred was important, but the ultimate goal was to avoid becoming entangled in it. The disciple began to see the power of letting go. While uncovering hidden hatred was a valuable skill, holding on to resentment or disappointment about others' feelings would only cloud his mind. Zen teachings emphasize that freedom comes from releasing attachment, not just to material things, but also to expectations, grudges, and the need for approval. The disciple reflected on this deeply and began practicing forgiveness, not as an act for others, but as a gift to himself. He forgave those who harbored hatred toward him, recognizing that their feelings were a reflection of their own struggles. He also forgave himself for any mistakes he might have made in the past that contributed to strained relationships. In doing so, he felt a sense of lightness and clarity. The hatred of others no longer had power over him. One day, the disciple returned to the Master filled with gratitude and curiosity. "Master," he said, "I have learned to uncover hidden hatred in others, but now I wonder, how do I uncover what lies hidden in my own heart?" The Master smiled, as though the disciple had asked the most important question of all. "This," the Master said, "is the greatest task of all. To uncover hatred in others is to observe the surface. To uncover hatred in yourself is to dive into the depths of your own being. Begin with the same actions. Praise yourself for your strengths, and ask yourself for help with your weaknesses. What do you see? The disciple pondered this and began an inner journey of self-reflection. When he praised himself, he realized he often deflected his own kind words, dismissing his accomplishments as unimportant. This revealed a hidden self-doubt that needed healing. When he asked himself for help, he noticed he sometimes resisted facing his own fears, avoiding challenges that required him to grow. The master's wisdom was clear. The techniques for unveiling hidden emotions in others were equally valuable for understanding oneself. The journey inward was ongoing, but it was also the path to true enlightenment. In his final lesson, the master shared a profound insight. Life is a dance between awareness and acceptance. Awareness allows you to see clearly, to uncover hidden truths without judgment. Acceptance allows you to let go of what you cannot change and focus on what you can. Together, these virtues lead to wisdom. The disciple asked, "What if I encounter someone whose hatred burns so strongly that it causes harm?" The master replied, "Protect yourself, but do so with compassion. Distance yourself if necessary, but never let hatred breed hatred within you. Remember the lotus. It grows in muddy waters, but remains pure. Be like the lotus, living with clarity and peace." The disciple left the master's presence with a deep sense of fulfillment. He now understood that uncovering hidden hatred was not about judging or condemning others, but about cultivating clarity, compassion, and strength. Through the two actions of offering praise and asking for help, he had gained invaluable insights into human nature and his own heart. Zen and Buddhist philosophy remind us that life's challenges, including hidden hatred, are opportunities for growth. By practicing awareness and acceptance, we rise above negativity and walk the path of peace. As the master often said, the heart that sees clearly is never clouded by hatred, and the soul that accepts fully is never weighed down by burdens. And so, the disciple continued his journey, not as one who feared hatred, but as one who embraced truth, light, and the ever-unfolding wisdom of life. The journey of understanding the human heart is a lifelong endeavor, a path marked by both profound insights and humbling challenges. As we delve deeper into the intricacies of human interaction, we begin to see that the lines between victim and perpetrator, between the giver and the receiver, are often blurred. The very acts of offering praise and seeking help, seemingly straightforward, are revealed as complex dances, revealing as much about ourselves as they do about others. They become not just tools of observation, but also mirrors reflecting our own inner workings, our own hidden biases, and our capacity for both compassion and judgment. Consider the act of offering praise. While it seems inherently positive, it can be fraught with hidden intentions. Sometimes we offer praise not out of genuine appreciation, but to manipulate, to ingratiate ourselves, or to subtly elevate our own status by appearing generous. Such praise, born of ego and self-interest, lacks the purity that allows it to serve as a true mirror. It becomes a distorted reflection, and the reactions it elicits may be equally skewed. Authentic praise, on the other hand, springs from a place of genuine admiration and appreciation for the good we see in others. It is a recognition of their worth, their efforts, their unique qualities. When we offer praise from this place, it acts as a conduit for positive energy, nourishing both the giver and the receiver. It creates a connection, a bridge of mutual respect and goodwill. And it is in this environment of genuine positive energy that hidden negativity finds it difficult to remain concealed. Similarly, the act of seeking help is not always what it seems. We might ask for help out of genuine need, but we may also do so to test others, to assert our own power, or even to create a sense of obligation. Our underlying motivations taint the request, and the responses we receive are colored by these hidden dynamics. True vulnerability, on the other hand, is not about testing or manipulating. It is about acknowledging our own limitations and allowing others to step in and offer their gifts. It is an act of trust, and when it is offered from a place of sincerity, it becomes an invitation to connect on a deeper level, a bond forged in mutual humility and compassion. And it is when we witness someone step up to help that we begin to see their inner truth. These nuances remind us that the path to uncovering hidden hatred is not a simple linear process. It is a subtle dance, a delicate interplay between observing the outward expressions and discerning the underlying motivations. We need to cultivate a sensitivity that goes beyond superficial interactions, a capacity to read between the lines and to listen not just to the words, but also to the unspoken messages conveyed by body language, tone, and energy. Furthermore, we need to be aware of our own projections, our own tendency to see in others what we fear or dislike in ourselves. If we carry within us unresolved anger or resentment, we may be more likely to interpret neutral or even positive behavior as hostile or malicious. Our own inner state clouds our perception, distorting the reality of the interactions we experience. This is why the inner work of self-reflection and self-compassion is so critical. To see others clearly, we must first see ourselves with clarity. The path of self-reflection requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to confront the shadow aspects of our own nature. It is not always comfortable, but it is necessary for true transformation. We must be willing to look at our own biases, our own prejudices, our own hidden desires, and to acknowledge how these internal forces shape our interactions with others. This work is not about self-condemnation, but about self-awareness. It's about understanding the underlying patterns that drive our behavior, so that we can begin to make conscious choices rather than reacting unconsciously. It's about breaking free from the cycles of negativity and cultivating an inner landscape that is grounded in love, compassion, and understanding. The Buddhist principle of mindfulness plays a crucial role in this process. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It involves observing our thoughts and emotions as they arise, without getting carried away by them. This practice allows us to gain a more objective perspective on our own inner workings, to see our patterns without identifying with them. When we bring mindfulness to our interactions with others, we become more attuned to the subtle cues that reveal their hidden emotions. We are less likely to react defensively or impulsively, and more able to respond with wisdom and compassion. Mindfulness creates a space between stimulus and response, a moment of clarity in which we can choose how to act. The path to understanding hidden hatred is not just about uncovering it in others. It's also about dismantling it within ourselves. Hatred, in its essence, is a manifestation of fear, a desperate attempt to protect ourselves from perceived threats. When we understand this, we can approach hatred not with more hatred, but with compassion, recognizing that those who harbor it are themselves suffering. It doesn't excuse their actions or their behavior. It is about recognizing their suffering and, from that place of compassion, responding to them in a way that aligns with our values. In this way, we are able to be guided not by reactivity, but by wisdom and integrity. This understanding requires a deep shift in our perception of conflict and negativity. Instead of seeing it as a personal attack, we can view it as an opportunity to grow in wisdom and compassion. It is an opportunity to cultivate our own inner strength, to develop the capacity to remain centered and grounded, even in the face of challenging situations. This journey is not for the faint of heart. It requires a deep commitment to truth, a willingness to confront our own inner demons, and a sustained effort to cultivate love and understanding. It is a path of continuous learning, a process of refinement, and a journey of unending exploration. But the rewards are immense. As we become more attuned to the subtle dynamics of human interaction, we begin to experience a deeper sense of connection, a greater appreciation for the complexity and beauty of the human experience. And we find that the path to inner peace is not about avoiding negativity, but about transforming it. It's about finding the courage to see the truth, to face the shadows, and to cultivate the light of compassion within our own hearts and in the world around us. This transformation is not a solitary endeavor. It is a collective journey, a shared aspiration to create a world that is more compassionate, more loving, and more just. As we cultivate these qualities within ourselves, we inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond our individual lives. The understanding that every one of us can play a part in creating a more loving world should fuel us and keep us going on our own paths. The journey of understanding hidden hatred is ultimately a journey of love. It is a journey of self-love, of compassion for others, and of profound respect for the interconnectedness of all beings. As we move forward, let us be guided by this intention. Let us be mindful, let us be compassionate, and let us be ever willing to see the truth, not just in others, but also in ourselves. And let us never forget the power of a still mind, a compassionate heart, and a genuine willingness to help. Finally, we need to bring in some of the most powerful teachings of Buddhism, that of emptiness, also known as shunyata. This is often misinterpreted, but it is one of the most profound teachings, and it is vital to our understanding of the themes we are discussing here today. Emptiness does not mean nothingness. Rather, it means that nothing has an inherent, fixed nature. Everything is interdependent. Everything arises in dependence on other things. Our perceptions are therefore colored by conditioning, by bias, and by prior experience. This means that we cannot truly know another person, for their reality is always filtered through our own. This doesn't mean that we cannot understand or connect with other people. It simply means that we cannot see them objectively. We can only experience them through our own unique lens. This understanding is crucial because it helps to diminish the need to be right, the urge to judge, and the desire to change others. It allows us to accept, and ultimately, it frees us. It allows us to see that people's hatred is ultimately an expression of their own suffering, and therefore, we can approach it with greater compassion. The concept of emptiness also has great relevance to the way we understand ourselves. Our sense of self is not a fixed entity. Rather, it is a continuous process, constantly changing, shifting, and being influenced by various external factors. If we hold tightly to the idea that we have a fixed self, we risk limiting ourselves and becoming trapped by a rigid identity. By understanding the emptiness of self, we can release ourselves from the ego's need for validation, recognition, and control. We can allow our true nature to unfold freely, embracing both our strengths and our weaknesses. This understanding is incredibly freeing. It means that we don't have to be defined by our past actions, our mistakes, or even the ways in which other people have treated us. We can choose in every moment to recreate ourselves, to live from a place of authenticity, and to act in alignment with our highest values. And most importantly for the theme of this video, it allows us to understand that the hatred we uncover in other people is not a fixed, inherent quality. It is a reaction, a response to their own perceived suffering, and therefore, it can be transformed. As we continue to understand more and more deeply, we can be guided by compassion, forgiveness, and acceptance. In this way, we can be a light in the world, and we can embody all of the most vital wisdom teachings that we have been exploring together. As we deepen our understanding of hidden hatred, it's essential to recognize that this phenomenon is not confined to interpersonal relationships. It can manifest in social structures, cultural norms, and even within ourselves as internalized negativity. The seeds of hatred can be sown in the fertile ground of ignorance, fear, and prejudice, often taking root in subtle and insidious ways. They can be found in the quiet biases we hold, the stereotypes we perpetuate, and the systems that perpetuate inequality. These forms of hidden hatred are often invisible to those who benefit from them, but they are profoundly damaging to those who are marginalized and oppressed. They create a climate of fear and mistrust, preventing genuine connection and fueling cycles of violence and injustice. To dismantle these systems of oppression, we must begin by acknowledging their existence and by examining our own complicity in perpetuating them. We can ask ourselves, where do I hold biases that I am unaware of? How do I contribute to systems that perpetuate inequality, even unintentionally? In what ways do I benefit from the suffering of others? These are challenging questions, but they are essential for cultivating a more just and compassionate world. The teachings we have explored so far can be applied to these wider contexts. We can offer sincere praise where it is due, recognizing the contributions of those who are often overlooked and undervalued. We can ask for help from those who have been marginalized, making space for their voices and experiences to be heard. And we can cultivate mindfulness to see clearly how these dynamics play out in our own lives and communities. In addition, we must also actively challenge the narratives that perpetuate hatred and division. This requires courage and a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones, to speak out against injustice, and to stand in solidarity with those who are oppressed. It is not enough to be passively non-racist or non-sexist. We must be actively anti-racist and anti-sexist. We must challenge the status quo and actively create a more equitable world for all. This is not simply about political activism, although that can be an important part of it. It is about cultivating a fundamental shift in consciousness, a movement away from separation and towards unity, from division to connection. It requires a recognition that our well-being is intrinsically linked to the well-being of others, that our collective liberation is dependent on the freedom of each and every individual. The path to a more compassionate world is a path of continuous learning and growth. It is a commitment to lifelong transformation, both on an individual and on a collective level. It is about embracing our shared humanity and recognizing that we are all interconnected and that what harms one of us ultimately harms us all. Furthermore, as we explore the idea of hidden hatred, we can see how easily we can fall into the trap of creating enemies, of demonizing the other, and of perpetuating cycles of violence and oppression. When we dehumanize those we disagree with, or those we perceive as a threat, we justify treating them with cruelty and disrespect. We strip them of their humanity, allowing ourselves to inflict harm without feeling empathy or remorse. This process of dehumanization is not unique to large-scale conflicts. It can occur in everyday interactions, in our relationships with family, friends, and colleagues. When we are quick to judge, when we dismiss others' perspectives, and when we fail to see their humanity, we are engaging in a form of subtle dehumanization. We are contributing to the very dynamics we seek to dismantle. Cultivating compassion is therefore not just a moral imperative. It is also a practical strategy for breaking free from these destructive patterns. Compassion allows us to see beyond the surface differences and recognize our shared humanity. It enables us to empathize with others' suffering, even when we do not agree with their actions or beliefs. Compassion is not weakness. It is a form of strength. It requires courage to extend kindness and understanding to those who have hurt us, to reach across the divides that separate us, and to choose love over fear. It is a powerful force for healing and transformation, capable of breaking down the walls of division and building bridges of connection. The path of compassion does not require us to condone harmful behaviors or tolerate injustice. It simply means approaching challenging situations with an open heart and an open mind. It means choosing to respond with wisdom and kindness, even when we are tempted to react with anger or judgment. It's also important to be aware of the ways in which our own egos can get in the way of compassion. The ego is the part of ourselves that is attached to our sense of identity, to our beliefs, and to our need to be right. When the ego is in control, we become defensive and unwilling to see the perspectives of others. We become so attached to our own narratives that we lose the ability to listen, to understand, and to connect. The practice of mindfulness can help us to detach from the ego, to observe its patterns without identifying with them. By recognizing the ego for what it is, simply a collection of thoughts and beliefs, we can become more flexible and open to change. We can cultivate a humility that enables us to learn from others and to grow beyond our own limitations. The ego's desire for validation and approval is another source of conflict, both within ourselves and in our relationships. When we seek external validation, we become dependent on the opinions and judgments of others, constantly seeking their approval to feel good about ourselves. This can lead to a constant cycle of seeking and disappointment, as we are never truly satisfied. The path of self-acceptance, on the other hand, is a path of liberation. When we accept ourselves, flaws and all, we become less reliant on external validation and more grounded in our own sense of self-worth. We are no longer driven by the need to impress others or to live up to their expectations. We are free to be ourselves, authentically and wholeheartedly. In addition, we need to cultivate a sense of gratitude, not just for the good things in our lives, but also for the challenging experiences that help us to grow. Gratitude allows us to see the world with a greater sense of appreciation, even in the midst of suffering. It shifts our focus from what is missing to what we have, from what is broken to what is whole. Gratitude is a source of joy, peace, and resilience. The practice of forgiveness also ties in here. It is not about condoning harm or forgetting the harm we have experienced. It is about releasing ourselves from the burden of resentment and choosing to move forward with greater peace and wisdom. Forgiveness is not something we do for others. It is something we do for ourselves. It allows us to release the past and embrace the present moment with greater freedom. This is a continuous journey of growth. It's an exploration of self, an unveiling of others, and an understanding of our place in the collective human experience. The path we have explored together today is a practical and accessible approach to discovering not just the hidden hatred within others, but also the hidden capacity for love, forgiveness, and compassion that lies within us all. And as we end, it is vital that we remember that this is not a destination, it is a journey. The goal is not to achieve a state of perfection, but to live with greater awareness, with deeper compassion, and with a more profound commitment to truth. It is to recognize that we are all interconnected, that our individual journeys are part of a greater collective whole. May we all continue to walk this path together, with open hearts, with mindful awareness, and with the unwavering belief in the transformative power of love. May we all be a source of light in the world.